Our next warrior woman is a doctor of pharmacy and licensed pharmacist, ND, master herbalist, diplomate in clinical nutrition, and chef who is committed to finding the safest and most effective means to promote health and wellness. Her grandmother had a 150-acre organic farm and saved 20 people who had the Spanish flu with her elderberry trees. When COVID hit, Dr. Lafferty went straight to the medical library to look at the research. Unfortunately, today, medical students are not even taught how to read medical journals. She developed integrative medicine department classes in functional nutrition and herbal therapy. Before this, she worked with gang kids and wrote 4 books on drug education and integrative treatment strategies. She is currently conducting research on antibiotic resistance and natural immune builders. She has online courses in herbal medicine and kitchen medicine at drlynlafferty.com. Sit back and soak up all the knowledge from today's episode on the Counterculture Mom Show. I'm Tina Griffin, excited to blow open the lies of GMOs with Dr. Lynn Lafferty, professor at NovaSoutheastern University Medical and Pharmacy Schools and John Patrick University. How are you doing today, Dr. Lynn Lafferty?
I'm doing great to be with you, and I love your hat. It's so like my family would have. So
that's so funny. Well, you know, I saw farm in your bio and I'm like, that's it. Where's my bison? Do you like bison?
Well, it's a little too gamey. I like grass-fed beef.
I do like grass-fed beef. I just didn't have a cow on a hat. Anyone out there that has a hat that with a cow on it, send it to us. Show at counterculturemom.com. Half joking, half not, I'll wear it. I grew up on a dairy farm, so anytime I get to talk about GMOs and what these globalists are doing to our food, I've got to get this out to the masses. And you have so much expertise on this field. You have a clinic where you see GI problems, hormone issues, autoimmune, de-prescribing, and very unique cases that many large universities cannot solve. I cannot wait to hear about that. Tell me about your teaching and your clinic. How did you become so passionate in it, and what are you doing there?
Well, first of all, when you see good health on the farm, you know, that's all you need to remember, because my grandmother basically, and probably yours, was climbing ladders and pruning her fruit trees when she was 80 years old. I'm just hoping. I have an acre in Florida. And so I'm just hoping maybe I can live as good of life, healthy life as she did. She never took a medicine until she was in a car accident, and they told her they told us she'd die because this was in 1980. They didn't have all the hip replacements and stuff. She broke her hip. And when they came out, they go, that woman has bones like a 50-year-old, and she lived on her farm. And by the way, she didn't have any electricity. And the cool thing was my father was the electrical engineer at Motorola, and he got a team of people on. I remember him telling her, oh, next week we're going to put electric in your house. And she said, absolutely not. There's the electrical current in my body. And one thing you didn't put in my bio was that I was on the board of the Academy of Environmental Medicine. And we see patients all the time with the EMF waves that are have symptoms like MS or Parkinson's. And so we deal with all of these different environmental things. And that group is very outspoken, by the way. It's one of the most rogue group of doctors there are, I think.
Okay, give us where to go to find that information as well, because I'm constantly blasting out to the masses about 5G, deadly radiation, and everything else, the EMF. Where do people go to find that info?
Well, you could start just going with I don't have that at the top of my head, but at the, it's AAEM. They can also refer you to physicians and things like that. There's so many toxins in our environment. You know, when I go to one of their conferences, I literally have to go get a massage halfway through or take a break because the information just keeps coming up through the whole conference, and it's really bad. But the wonderful thing is we found things that we can heal people with. And most of the people that are that ill from environmental illness can't take medications. So it's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to refer to what you just said. It is AAEM. AAEMonline.org, AAEMonline.org for the American Academy of Environmental Medicine. And several of those people on that website, Dr. Peter McCullough being the most recent, were just on our show. So fantastic people that you're working with. Your clinic, we're going to talk about that in a minute and why many people have to jump on your personal website to get a lot of the resources. But I wanted them to understand, how did you get interested in farming practices and health?
Well, like I said, my grandmother had an organic farm, and I look back, she had hundreds of cans. She would can everything, she was in upstate New York in the snow belt, so you know what I'm talking about. So they would can just hundreds of cans, and her garden wasn't that big. So her garden was abundant without any chemicals, without any GMO, without any toxins sprayed on her food. And so I know that we can go back and have really nutritious food again, like we used to have. I went to pharmacy school, and I align myself a little bit more with that, though it's interesting. I graduated in 1982, and I have what was back then a PDR. That was the physician desk reference. And every pharmacy, and I think doctor, had to have one in their office. And it just told you what every drug was and what the side effects. It was like package insert from every drug. And we had so many natural products back then. Of course, hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine, which is from a tree bark. We had probably 12 companies that made digestive enzymes, not just for digestion, but it also for inflammatory conditions. And also they were also indicated for thrombosis.
That's just unbelievable. I have a pressing question that really stuck out to me in your bio. You said that today medical students are not even taught how to read medical journals. I have my thoughts on why that is, and most of the audience is going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Explain to me why you think that is.
Well, medical school, I do a talk, and I did it with once when Judy Mikovits in the audience, and she was laughing so hard. So when I did it a second time, I didn't know if it'd be the audience would. It's so sad that you need a comic relief. So,
Yeah.
One of the first things I do with my students is, well, first, my audience, I always ask, have you had a doctor either tell you, I don't know what you've got, I don't know how to help you, or if you're a woman, only women get this, you need to go see a psychiatrist because you're just hysterical. The reason being is that the students don't learn anything. So they don't, it's not like they're trying to withhold information. They don't know information. And so the first thing I do is for the first lesson when you come to my clinic, and we'll talk about this, I have in my coursework, is I show Harvard and put rheumatoid arthritis, and they say, oh, it's, these horrible symptoms, pain and misaligned joints and heat and hot and all this. And then they say, but we don't know what causes it. It's an autoimmune disease, which is the catch-all phrase of, they haven't taught me anything about this disease, so I'm just going to give you what they've told me to give. So then when we go to the medical library and we put in rheumatoid arthritis and we put in gut bacteria, 325 in PubMed, that's our database in the United States, 325, 350 articles come up and say the etiology or pathoetiology, meaning the cause of rheumatoid arthritis, is gut bacteria.
Unbelievable.
And it's funny, I had, and one of my patients, a real interesting case too, he was very wealthy. He had just sold the internet company, but he was only 35 and he'd been diagnosed with MS. And I told him, because I asked, the one thing when I see young people, I have to tell the medical students, I never saw rheumatoid arthritis in anybody under 50, because usually it will happen to women after menopause, because the endocrine system and hormones play a big role in your immune system. So that's when those types of things happen. But when I see young people under 45 that have these diseases, the one thing I ask, and I had one of my patients today sending me her brother, and I said, maybe you'll know this, but I said, what I see in young people that have this is they had antibiotics a lot. She goes, oh my God, he was always on an antibiotic. He was always sick. And I don't care if it's MS. And this young man said, I had chronic ear infection. So, and then I said, well, let me take my conclusion. And P.S., by the way, the natural antibiotics on these bacteria work so much better than the regular antibiotics, because there was a lab that used to test 12 regular antibiotics and 12 of the natural antibiotics, and maybe one or two of what the regular prescription antibiotics would be positive, would work sensitive to these bacteria, but usually 11 out of 12 or 12 out of 12 of the natural ones would work on these. So that's what we find almost. You put any autoimmune condition and you'll find either a virus. Even I was talking to one of our researchers. I said, glioblastoma is probably caused by a virus. And they're like, no, we're studying this on it. And I'm like, I sent him like 10 articles. And a matter of fact, one of the journal articles said, why is anybody not listening to this? Because this is what is going on. And so going back to the natural antibiotics, and just one last thing, Epstein-Barr is, if you've had mono really and you're sick, the natural antibiotics can work on this. I said to one of my patients about her husband, I said, I think did he have mono, or has he ever tested for Epstein-Barr? I want him tested. And and the doctor said, well, I don't know why you want it. I'll test it, but I don't know why you'd want it tested, because there's nothing we can do about it. But if you put in black cumin seed, you put in olive leaf extract, in the medical library, it'll talk about that it kills it, because these plants they're their own pharmacy.
Yeah.
They have to kill viruses off themselves. They have to fungus. They have to kill off everything. And that's the problem with GMO and also using pesticide in your plants. You're not letting them build up their immune system.
That's exactly what I was seriously going to ask you. I cannot wait to dig in deeper about the fact that you teach about GMO to medical and pharmacy students. We're going to find out exactly what you teach and why this is such an important topic right after this.
Can we trust what's written in the book of Genesis? How could a flood cover the entire earth? And where do dinosaurs fit in the Bible? Find the answers to these questions and more at the ICR Discovery Center in Dallas. Bring family and friends to experience the wonders of creation through our exhibit hall and stunning planetarium shows. Experience the origins of our universe. Step aboard Noah's Ark, chill in our Ice Age theater, meet the founders of science, encounter animatronic animals, and so much more. Our scientists' work is on display in the current research exhibit, and our biology research laboratory showcases our experiments. And don't forget to shop the Discovery Store for t-shirts, books, gifts, and more. Discover how science confirms the Bible today.
Bring your family and friends to the ICR Discovery Center in Dallas. To plan your visit, go to icr.org/Tina. That's icr.org/TINA.
I am passionate about my health and taking care of myself and my family. One company that I'm very excited to partner with is Ascent Nutrition. They provide holistic nutritional supplements for us and our pets. And they have the most incredible organic, mold and mycotoxin-free coffee on the planet. Their pine needle extract includes wild harvested pine needles, which improves immunity and brain function. I'm also using their humic and fulvic acid, which binds to heavy metals, supporting detoxification and increases my energy level. Their pine pollen tincture is a great support for libido and hormone health, and they have the cleanest source of omega-3s in their algae oil DHA, which is essential, especially for us moms and our kids. Head to goascentnutrition.com/Tina and use code Tina at checkout to save 10% off on your entire order. That code can be shared with others, so spread the word. 10% off using code Tina at goascentnutrition.com/Tina. Let's get our body back on track together. With everything that will be happening in the near future in our beloved nation, it's critical to be prepared in every way possible. Check out Farmer Bill's provisions for high-quality, all-natural biltong beef jerky made right here in the USA. Your family will love the taste, but more importantly, it will last for a long time for when you really need it. Sugar-free, keto-friendly, gluten-free, no nitrates, paleo diet, Whole30 friendly, soy-free, protein-rich. It comes in a 4-pack variety, both garlic and herb and smokehouse. Stock up now at farmerbillsprovisions.com and make sure you use code word Tina at checkout to save 10% off your entire order. Once again, Tina at checkout to save 10% off. Lynn, you teach about GMO to medical and pharmacy students. That's phenomenal. Give them the education they need now to make wise choices in the future and teach future generations. Why is this such an important topic to talk on?
Because the first thing I say, this is the worst crisis in America. First of all, one of the things now, talking about the medical library, it's hard to get a study that's even valid. I have to go. I look at most of them now are positive, and GMO is so great, and this and that. And then I go and I find, Monsanto at the time, it's now Bayer, but they gave them $50 million for a department. So
you can see really that what they're funding and why they're funding it. And then they're teaching wrong information, lies, basically, their agenda to millions of young people. It's unbelievable. What foods do you recommend taking out of the diet and why?
The worst are high fructose corn syrup and your trans fat. They have to come out. Those are the two things we know in the literature. It causes so many diseases. And I have to remind my students, when I got out of pharmacy school in 1982, I had two patients that were type 2 diabetics, and they were 70 years old women. One was thin and one was heavy. So it's all because of our food that this is happening, that especially those trans fat, your cell membrane has, it's made out of fat, a fatty lipid with phosphorus. And anyway, it incorporates into that fat, and it's not shaped properly. So now the insulin receptor doesn't work properly. So the sugar is now in your blood because it can't get in the cell where it belongs.
Wow.
And one other thing about GMO, I turned to a study because this was an animal study, and the animals, there's no political agenda with the rats or whatever. And one of the most profound thing, I remember in 1982 when we were doing rounds, the doctor saying, oh my gosh, we've got our first case of pancreatic cancer. This was at Medical College of Georgia Hospital. And then they said, you students, go for our journal club on Friday, go see what's the latest and the greatest with pancreatic cancer. And none of my students looked up COVID because they're not taught to do that. That was part of our training, to go look and read and see what's new and exciting in the medical journals. But anyway, going back to that, we didn't have pancreatic cancer, right? There was one case, and they said you only see it in severe alcoholics. Now it's probably the number 3 cause of cancer.
Wow.
Going back to studies with the rats, they saw precancerous lesions with the GMO food.
Wow.
Not in every, in a lot of the studies. And the other thing that it did, 80% of your immune system, which takes out cancer and all your other immune conditions, 80% lies in the gut. And a lot of it is due to those gut bacteria. And it showed that it wiped out, the GMO foods wiped out 50% of the gut bacteria, as a lot of artificial sweeteners, like Splenda, by the way. And that's the other thing. Finally, there's many studies that are coming out. You won't see it in the paper, but it's in the medical literature, that these artificial sweeteners actually cause diabetes and increase your blood sugar. So
all purposely done. Because, like I'm saying in other series, and even through the whole history of this program, which, by the way, everybody, it's almost at the 3-year mark. We are just blown away by what God is doing here. But it's the same people that are creating the cancer-causing toxins to be sprayed on crops, and even the junk, the mRNA that's shot in the crops. Dr. Peter McCullough was actually on our show talking about that. The junk that's in our shots, our vaccines, our food, all of it. It's all for the same agenda, to make us super sick, and then we're like a cash cow, like Zen Honeycutt just said in our program. It makes complete sense. Tell us about the solutions from everything that you've learned over the last how many decades. You have a health investigator program. Can you briefly describe what that is, and do you research when you research GMO foods?
Right. Well, what the health investigator is there were so many things that would have cured COVID in your house, eucalyptus, oregano oil, on and on. So I want to empower people to learn about the natural antibiotics. The bigger thing with these, again, the autoimmune diseases is making the right pH in your gut, because the bad bacteria, and this is the same thing, a good organic, my brother was an organic farmer and in the Organic Farmers Union. The first thing an organic farmer does is they put a pH meter in their soil, because they know if with the right pH, the plant will grow well. And that's the same thing with your gut. So their brown is your brown in the gut. And so, and there's over 1 million bacteria right there in that soil. And there's viruses in there and all sorts of things that are in there. So what we do, we learn about your body and all the natural things. And then you also get a lot of additional things. I've made a whole booklet about the foods that are high in certain vitamins and what those vitamins do for you. You get that for free. I made a booklet on how to prepare your own herbal preparations. I've made refrigerator sheets that you can put on your refrigerator. Like if you want to get more vitamin D foods, you can put that on and see what those foods are.
Where can we find this fantastic info? At drlynnlafferty.com?
Yes. And we also have 2 really wonderful free webinars on there. I've got, you can see a lot of blogs that are free.
This is just a massive wealth of knowledge. Okay, we're going to do a short commercial break. Support our sponsors. They are the reason we get fantastic guests like Lynn here on the program today to dig in deep and help keep us alive at this point. So support our sponsors. We'll be back with more from this master doctor here right after this.
In a world where technology surrounds us, our exposure to EMR, or electromagnetic radiation, is higher than ever before, with over 400,000 cell towers and antennas in the United States alone, not to mention Wi-Fi that runs 24/7 in our home, cell phones that are carried in our pockets hours on end, and hundreds of 5G satellites in our orbit. Common complaints are ringing in the ear, sleep deprivation, heart palpitations, insomnia, and so much more. Start protecting yourself now. Introducing Redemption Shield, your EMF protection products. With over 700 5-star reviews, Redemption Shield is leading the way in shielding and grounding products, taking inflammation out of your body with grounding bed mats, grounding bed sheets, hats, scarves, Wi-Fi router covers, cell phone bags. Come and see us today at redemptionshield.com and get grounded and shielded. Redemptionshield.com. Use code TINA and save 10%.
The Jace case is a pack of 5 antibiotics. We put these antibiotics together very purposefully. They were curated in a way that covers the most common as well as the most deadly bacterial infections that you might encounter. In addition, it includes a guidebook to the safe use of the medications that is written in a way that's accessible for most people to be able to look up what their symptoms are and what the proper medication is to take. The idea behind the Jace case is to allow everyone to be better prepared medically, to be empowered to care for themselves.
Since the pandemic began, our healthcare industry has had to transform. From receiving medication to physician visits, everything changed. Jace Medical is dedicated to providing proper access to medications before you need them. This protects against issues during travel or disruptions with supply chains, natural disasters, and other emergency situations that have proven to overwhelm our healthcare system. Secure your own supply of medication with ease and peace of mind.
Use code TINA for a discount at jacemedical.com.
Dr. Lafferty, before we let you go, what foods can you rattle off for us that you'd recommend taking out of our diet one more time, just to give us more things to steer clear from?
Hydrogenated trans fat has to go. So that means fried foods, McDonald's, all the fast food restaurants, unless they're ones that are committed to using better oils and things like that. All your artificial sweeteners have to go. There's monk fruit now. There's stevia if you want no calories. There's also, I love turbinado sugar, which is real cane sugar it's got its natural brown, and the brown part on sugar, bread, and everything, that's the minerals that will help the sugar go into the cell. It needs to go into the cell instead of in your blood, which causes diabetes. Also, MSG, they gave it to rats. They gained 30% of their body weight. They ate 30% more food, and they're trying to make us fat and sick so that we can buy the pharmaceuticals, obviously. Hate 8. I don't see 8s very much, but they're supposed to put an 8 if it's a GMO. So hate the 8.
Dr. Lynn, thank you so much for jumping on the program today. Everybody out there, watch all 4 episodes. They are fantastic. Zen Honeycutt even joined us. I mean, go figure. Fantastic insight.
I'm be on the show. Thank you.
Absolutely. If you want to donate to our cause, just go to counterculturemom.com. We're dying to get on more platforms. The funding will help us reach a lot more families and pay for that airtime. Let's do this in 2024, people. Counterculturemom.com. Click on that pink donate button. Lynn, you rock. Keep at it. I'm going to make sure there's no more GMOs in the Griffin household. Oh, yeah.